Hello and welcome to Smash Hit Sports. The NFL is a beautiful, beautiful beast. We have some great games for us this weekend. We had a great week 5. Looking forward to an even better week 6. I have a great guest on, Dom Cintarino. He is, first off, one of the greatest people on this beautiful app we call Twitter. If you want to check him out, he is at DOMCINTO_11. He is the PGA content lead at Fantasy Points. He works with Fantasy Data NFL. He's a member of the Kings Classic. And most importantly, as you can see on the screen behind him, if you were watching the video version of this podcast, which you should subscribe on YouTube, he is a massive Vikings fan. Dom, welcome to the show, man.
What's going on, Cody? Thanks for the nice intro there. Glad to be on the show and glad we could work this out.
We got to talk about your Vikings first and foremost because they look nothing short of greats. 4-1, leading the division. The Packers go down to the Giants, which I know you are doubly invested in that game. How are we feeling about the Vikings through 5 weeks?
I feel like I should be feeling a little better, but I can't remember a Vikings team with a winning record like this that I haven't been too confident in. I don't know if it's the quality of teams that they're playing. I mean, they played a beat-up Saints team, Bears at home, Lions at home. Philly exposed them. I mean, it was really closer than it probably should have been at the end of the day when you look at the score and you look at some of the red zone turnovers. But I think their best football is yet to come, so that's promising. They, in my opinion, can't look a whole lot worse on defense. New 3-4 system. It looks like a lot of guys are still adjusting to that. So we'll see how they transition over the next couple weeks. At Miami, another team that they're going to play pretty beat up, and we'll get to that when we get to it. But if they can go into the bye 5-1, figure some things out, I mean, who knows?
Look, you can only play the teams that are in front of you, and the Vikings, for the most part, have handled business. Their only loss is to the last remaining undefeated team in the NFL, and the Eagles. I mean, for the most part, they've looked pretty damn good. And to top it all off, you have half of your division games done and over with for the year, and you came out 3-0. So,
exactly. And it kind of sucks having all 3 division games at home done and over with, and we're just in early October. But at the same time, you start 3-0 in those games. You let whatever happens on the road happen. I don't love playing the Bears and Packers in January to end it because, I mean, it's going to be
NFC North weather.
But like you said, you got the 3 out of the way and can't ask for much more.
Yeah, and I like Kevin. I think Kevin O'Connell has done a great job as a first-year head coach. Obviously, everybody is talking about Brian Daboll, and we'll talk about the London game. But I really think Kevin O'Connell has done a very underrated job of making this offense look like it needed to look. And quite frankly, he hadn't really looked under Mike Zimmer. Like, there have been some explosive plays. Dalvin Cook finally getting involved this week. Hasn't really had a great start to the season, but look, at the end of the day, the Vikings are putting up enough points to win. Their defense is, I think, coming along would be how I would describe it. I think you did a great job there. You know, it's getting there. It's improving. It's not quite there yet, but
yeah, it's all new. I mean, I don't think we've seen the most out of Danielle Hunter. First time he's played a stand-up 3-4, so all of these guys are adjusting. I mean, they've been in a 4-3 I've never seen them play in a 3-4 as long as I've been alive. So something new for me to watch as well.
Yeah, and we've talked about the parlay that I put together as far as future bets goes earlier this season. I have a futures bet that the Vikings and Bengals play each other in the Super Bowl. It doesn't look like your team's going to be the problem, so I think it might be mine. But before we get to the Bengals and I just kill the mood for the entire podcast, Giants-Packers, Brian Daboll might be the best head coaching hire we've seen in a long time, especially for a Giants program that has had some really shitty coaching hires as of late.
Agree. And he's really not working with a whole lot. I mean, they've been dealing with their own injuries. Like when they drafted Wan'Dale Robinson in the second round, I was like, they already have like a pretty deep wide receiver room. I don't think they need that. And then you look at where they're at come week 5, and they got guys that you didn't even know before the season started, and they're still managing. I mean, yeah, they're leaning heavily on Saquon Barkley, but why would you not? I don't see them going away from that. Daniel Jones looks fine. I mean, a lot of people hate on him, just like they like to hate on Cousins, and there's a lot of punching bags at quarterback, but at the same time, like, he's doing exactly what he has to do, minimizing the mistakes that he had early on in his career, and they're getting the job
I
done.
don't think there's any world where Daniel Jones still keeps this job next year, unless is there a way that he
Depends.
plays his way into it? Like if let's say they make the playoffs, get bounced in the first round, does Daniel Jones keep his job?
Right. I would assume, yeah. I don't think they would sign Daniel Jones to a long-term contract, but at the same time, how can you not see if, like, he wants to sign a 2-year deal it doesn't matter what you want to pay him. I mean, I don't think you're going to franchise tag him regardless of how the rest of the season plays out. I don't think that's an option. If you're not going to pick up his 5th year, you're not going to franchise tag him. It would just be a bad look. If you want to sign him to a 2-3-year deal, fine. But I don't know what the market would be for a guy like Daniel Jones. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the other thing too, like the Giants are in a really weird situation cap space wise with how they've allocated their cap.
Yes.
So I don't think they have the tools to bring in a superstar quarterback. So and it looks like they're not going to be in a position to draft a good one. So I saw a take on the internet that I know we love takes on the internet, but it was somebody at ESPN talking about how the Giants should tank even though that they're winning games in order to get a better quarterback so that they're not in this fantasy football, in this like NFL purgatory. Why would you ever, how many first round or first overall picks or good quarterbacks we've seen taken in the first round have not panned out? Why would you tank if you're winning football games? This seems so stupid for a fan base that could use some hope and some wins.
I saw that video as well. I don't know if the person reporting fully understood like their record or whatever the case may be, but if they lose out, there's still a chance they don't have the first pick.
Mind-blowing to me. Mind-blowing.
And you look at their schedule, you even look at their next like 4 or 5 games. There's no way they don't come out of these 2-2, 2-3. Like the way that they're playing, I don't know why anybody would talk about tanking in any sense, because they are because of the Eagles, they'd be the 5 seed right now heading into the playoffs. I mean, they're 4-1 and they're a legit contender. The NFC is a complete toss-up, and that's what has me feeling pretty good about the Vikings' chances, just because like I think 9 wins walks into the postseason.
And there are a lot of what you thought maybe going into the season as the top dogs in the NFC aren't quite that. The Buccaneers have looked absolutely mortal. The Rams have looked borderline awful, actually. They're too. Talking about a Super Bowl hangover, we'll get to the Bengals, but the Rams have looked awful too. So I think you absolutely have a shot to. The NFC is wide open. The NFC is anybody's, and it should be. It should be a great. It's a good time to be a fan of an NFC team. Let's talk about the AFC. You want to talk about a shit pumping? The Bills obliterated the Steelers. Are we planting our flag that this is going to be the first Mike Tomlin sub 500 Steelers team?
I am. I don't see how you couldn't. I mean, I'm glad they went to Kenny Pickett. I wish they did it earlier just to see what he's got, go through some growing pains. But it's like, he's not like a 20-year-old rookie quarterback that you can just let sit a whole year. So I think week 4 was too long for us to see him. But I mean, he got drafted at 24 years old. So it's like if you haven't figured it out now, and I know college to NFL transition is a thing of its own, but if you haven't figured it out for this whole year, I don't see why you'd want to go into it next year without knowing what he has. It's good to see him. I think he's showing flashes of something that he he can be a franchise quarterback. He can be the guy there. They have also dealt with injuries. Obviously, T.J. Watt missing time. Will be back soon. Minka's not 100%. A lot of question marks in the fantasy industry, especially on Najee Harris and where he stands exactly. But I'd be shocked if they find themselves in a winning record, just because that division's pretty tough. And we still have Deshaun Watson coming back, and even with Brissett, the Browns are staying in a lot of these
that
games.
Steelers offensive line stinks, but Kenny Pickett is a year younger than Lamar Jackson. That's insane to me. Lamar Jackson's playing for his second contract right now, and Kenny Pickett is a first-year rookie. So I agree that I think the Steelers need to figure out whether or not Pickett's the guy sooner rather than later, because if you were to end the season today, they're picking at 3. So they could be in a position. I think Mike Tomlin is a good enough coach that they will get themselves out of the top 5 probably, but they could be in a position where they very legitimately could think about taking a quarterback. If Pickett's not the guy. I think so.
And the one thing with the draft, their long tenured GM, like, he was retiring and they let him finish out this draft before hiring the new guy. I didn't like that whole transition.
That seemed so awkward to me. Why would you put the next guy in a position where you aren't? His
hands are tied. Like, if he takes say they draft in the top 10 and he takes a quarterback that slides or that he likes a lot, and the guy doesn't work out, then you're in a really weird spot. People are going to criticize you, and a lot of people won't even know that. They'll say, oh, that his first year as GM is when he drafted Kenny Pickett, and that wasn't the case. So drafting a quarterback on your last draft ever just seems like trying to hit big going out, or I don't know what the whole intent was, but
if they were competing for a championship this year, I think the move would have made sense because you have continuity all the way through. They're not. They are quite possibly in the first stages of a full rebuild. Like that, doing that, and then it's such a weird transition. I'm shocked that they did it that way. But maybe that's why they get paid to do it and we get paid to talk about it. I don't know. I really don't.
Exactly. And I think they do have the right pieces in line. I mean, they have probably the best edge rusher in the game. Like I said, Minka is unreal. Their receiving core, top to bottom, pretty solid. O-line, I mean, there's plenty of guys there at 20 that they could have went with to set themselves up for further success. We saw the Trubisky contract and what that was. We knew they had Mason Rudolph, so it's like, why not get a guy to protect one of those two guys and worry about quarterback the next year? But like you said, not our place.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the Rams and Cowboys, because I need to talk shit about the Rams before, we just absolutely decimate the Bengals. The Rams have looked awful through 3 weeks. That offensive line looks bad. Allen Robinson looks, everybody, we had assumed that better quarterback play in LA, better offensive scheme. He's not under Matt Nagy anymore. That Allen Robinson would have a bounce back, and he has been virtually non-existent. Ben Skoranek has been more impactful from a fantasy standpoint than Allen Robinson has. What does this Rams team need to do in order to be a playoff team? Because right now they're not playing like it.
I really don't know what's going on, and I don't know if the whole Stafford shoulder thing is more than we made it out to be. I mean, I stayed away from him completely based off of that. They don't look the same, and it's like Allen Robinson is still playing more snaps than a majority of wide receivers in the NFL. So it's not like he's not getting the opportunity. Like, he's on the field 90% of the time, I think in 4 out of his first 5 games. So it's like he looks exactly like the drop-off that we saw last year. And he was always a guy who was super young, drafted at 20, 21 years old. A guy that you were like, I can't believe he's still this young. Well, he's finally aging, which everybody does. And I think maybe last year it wasn't on Fields. Maybe he literally just hasn't had a receiver to throw to, and it wasn't all his fault because Robinson's clearly not getting it done, not getting open, and there's been a lot of stuff that I've seen in terms of like a lack of effort almost.
Yeah, I think there's something missing from this Rams offense. I think their offensive line isn't clicking, which obviously the retirement of Andrew Whitworth certainly, you have a staple left tackle that's going to, be a massive impact when he leaves. But the offensive line isn't clicking. They have essentially a non-existent run game, partially because of the offensive line, partially because Cam Akers looks like he's running with sand in his shoes. You have wide receivers that outside of Cooper Kupp have not looked great. They've had some drops issues. Higbee's had some drop issues. Like, they don't look good. And I don't know. I don't know what the Rams have to do from here. Maybe it's bring OBJ back, but who knows? But the other side of this game, Cowboys, 22 points. The Cowboys are a one-loss team, 4-1. Like, maybe Dak plays this week, although the closer we get to Sunday, the less it seems likely. Cooper Rush could potentially be in a position to have the Cowboys in playoff shape coming back from that Dak injury. That's the best you could ask for if you were a Cowboys fan, to be honest with you. They're in a good spot.
Yeah, back when Dak went down, everyone wrote the Cowboys off.
They
were like,
the betting market for the Eagles to win that division went to like minus 250. It was insane.
Yeah. Yep. Right from the start. And Rush hasn't looked insane. He hasn't looked elite, but he's doing enough to win these ball games. And I think that's all he's really asked to do. I mean, he's going to, and the craziest thing is like week 1, they had to elevate him from their practice squad.
Yeah.
They didn't even sign him to the initial 53, which I was shocked because he came in last year and beat the Vikings and looked exactly like he's looking this year. Like, that's no surprise. I don't know what their plan was when they moved him down and elevated him for week 1, risking somebody snatching him off of it. But
yeah, I don't know. That was weird, but he's here now and he's playing well. I think he could play his way into a Marcus Mariota on the Falcons type of next year, right? Because he's not under contract next season by the Cowboys. Somebody's going to pay him to either be a good backup or to be a bridge quarterback, which I hate. Bridge quarterbacks never work. It's a stupid concept. I don't understand why teams do it, but whatever. Maybe they still want to put a decent product on the field. I would much rather see Desmond Ridder and see what he has than what we know Marcus Mariota has. But I could absolutely see Cooper Rush being that guy for a team. Like if Tom Brady retires next season and the Buccaneers feel like they are still competitive enough to compete, that, maybe he ends up in a spot like that. I don't know. But either way, he's having a really good start to the year. So we get to see, Cowboys at Eagles, Sunday Night Football. It'll be a damn good game. A damn good game.
Should be. Should be. I would like to see how they can compete, but they just went into LA, so why would you ever doubt them?
Yeah. We'll talk about that game though when we look at next week's lines. I have one more game that I want to talk about this. Well, we'll talk about Monday Night Football too, because I might as well. But Bengals Ravens. What the hell happened to the Bengals offense? Because, and not even going back to last year, they weren't great in the playoffs. They were carried by their defense to that Super Bowl. The last pass that Derek Carr, Ryan Tannehill, and Patrick Mahomes threw in all 3 of those games was an interception. They were carried by the defense into that playoffs. Joe Burrow was good, but he wasn't great. Turns out that offense might be good and not great. They are awful on first down. It's disgusting to watch. What is that? I don't understand how you can have a much more creative, you can't ask for better weapons. You can't. What does the Bengals offense need to do in order to right the wrongs that we've seen through 5 weeks?
Like you said, it's all first down. It all comes down to first down. I mean, I saw it for years with the Vikings under Mike Zimmer. It's like you put yourself in a 2nd and long situation or 2nd and 10 off the get-go. I mean, you're already playing from behind. I think they have to find ways to chase the ball in better situations. And it's not like he's not getting the targets. I mean, he's clearly involved. But you have to find different ways to get your guys involved. Get Mixon in space. I mean, I don't think I would play P. Ryan or Evans a whole lot. They're getting a little bit more action than I would have thought, but I don't know. I mean, punted on their first 3 drives, it's like this offense should not be having any trouble scoring 20-plus points a game.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought the Chase stuff up because he's getting the targets, right? From a fantasy standpoint, you're like, okay, he's getting the targets. Like, we're just not seeing the touchdowns and some of the boom plays that he had last year. Well, he's not seeing the same coverages that he saw last year. But if you are good, you can scheme your best players open. And I saw a graphic that was tweeted out earlier today about Justin Jefferson's route tree, which these two guys are going to be compared together their entire career. It's just how it is because they played together in college.
Yeah.
And both of these wide receivers are incredibly talented. But you see Justin Jefferson's route tree, and you see what the Vikings are asking him to do, and he is all over the field. They aren't limiting Justin Jefferson to just lining up outside and trying to take the ball deep and take the top off the defense. They are getting him the ball everywhere and letting him be the incredible athlete that he is. And you look at Jamar Chase, and he almost hardly ever comes inside the hashes. Something has to change there. It's been really frustrating to watch as a Bengals fan. I understand T. Higgins was hurt against the Ravens, and that doesn't help either. But it's just frustrating. Damn it pisses me off. I want to watch good football. They were fun last year. I want to watch fun on offense. It's bullshit. Ugh. Whatever.
I know. I don't blame you at all. I mean, like you said with Chase, the only way to mix up the coverages that he's seeing is to mix up where he's at in the field. Put him in the
Zach
backfield,
Taylor's thought of getting creative inside the 5-yard line is to run the Philly special with a quarterback who just tore his ACL last year. What the hell are we, or coming off an ACL tear last year? What the hell are we doing, man? You know what? But we're not going to talk about the Bengals. Let's talk about the Ravens. Ravens have looked good. Lamar's looked good. I think their offense visibly missed Rashad Bateman. I think Rashad Bateman has obviously had the 2 massive plays against Miami, but I think Bateman has solidly become a pretty good wide receiver for them. And I think they missed that second-level threat. I don't know. But if you had to pick a winner of that division right now, are you going with the Ravens? Are you sticking with that? Or
yeah, I think I'm sticking with the Ravens. I mean, just what Lamar's been able to do. He's tough to stop as long as he's able to stay on the field. I think they're going to be extremely tough to beat. But at the same time, like I said earlier, I mean, outside of Pittsburgh, there's 3 very solid teams there. If the Browns can kind of hang in there until Watson gets back, who knows where they're going to be. I mean, if they're a game or 2 out by that time, I don't see why they wouldn't be able to make a run.
Yeah, Lamar as a starter is 40-14. That seems pretty damn good. He seems like Why?
I'd take that.
Why haven't the Ravens paid him? Like, that seems like the biggest no-brainer decision. Maybe it's the guaranteed money that they're getting hung up on. I don't know. It seems a little ridiculous.
Yeah, the only really downside is like these running quarterbacks and their lifespan in the NFL. I mean, one bad injury and you got a guy on a 8-year contract or whatever it is that he's asking for, and it could turn bad very quickly. But at the same time, I don't know how you would let a guy like that go.
Yeah, I agree. But
about the AFC North, don't rate your Bengals off yet.
I won't.
Just yet.
I won't. I'm too cocky to do that. We got a lot of football ahead of us. It's still only week 6. Last game of week 5, Monday Night Football, Raiders Chiefs. I love that the Raiders went for 2 to try to win the game. And it turned out, I think it was the right call because the Chiefs ended up not scoring again the rest of the game. If the Raiders get that play, I think they end up winning. You can't play chicken shit football against Patrick Mahomes. You just can't do it. I don't understand. No. I get the analytics and whatever. I think the Ravens made the right call. They didn't win, but damn it, you were what, 1-3 going into that game? Like, what did you have to lose?
You have to play to win. And if you kick the extra point, which I don't care who your kicker is, extra points from 33 yards are no guarantee anymore. It's really not especially outdoors. So I don't hate the decision at all. If you do kick the extra point and make it and tie the game, you're still giving Mahomes the ball with 3-4 minutes left to play, and we all know how that shapes out. They could have changed their offensive plan completely. I know you said they didn't score, but it's like if it's a tie ball game and they know that they can hold the ball last, we've seen it how many times where they can just run the clock out, either score a TD or just kick a field goal for the win. So it's like I don't hate that decision at all, especially when you're on the road, and like you said, especially when you're at the bottom of the division looking up.
Yeah, and the other thing too is even if they kick the extra point and go into overtime, if Mahomes gets the ball back first, like you could absolutely never touch the ball again. And I would not be willing to leave that up to chance, especially with how the Raiders offense played. Like they played well for the majority of that game. So like sometimes you make the right decision and get the wrong result. I think that's what happened with the Raiders. Is Travis Kelce Jesus? Are we sure that he's not? Because I haven't seen him in the same location together. 4 touchdowns is just like, and the fact that he did on 27 yards almost pisses me off. You know what I mean? Like the stat line is just,
I know.
Yeah. If you were to like go in and tell a Raiders fan, like, hey, Travis Kelce had 7 catches for 27 yards, you would be like, we played him so well. That's incredible. But for 4 touchdowns. Like, holy shit. What a game.
Yeah. I saw a lot of like parlay losing tickets. It's like Kelce over 40 yards, over 50 yards in loss. And you could have done Kelce to score 3+, and your odds would have been like 200-300 times what it was with that alternate receiving line, and it didn't cash.
Yeah, betting is
one of the crazier stat lines I've ever seen in my life.
Betting's hard, man. Betting is hard. This shit ain't easy.
It is.
But we're going to try to make it easy.
It's very hard.
Well, it's hard to win against Vegas. They don't build those giant casinos for no reason. Let's get into next week. Thursday Night Football, the game that we've all been waiting for. We got the electric factory that was Colts Broncos, right? Everybody's, the talk of the internet is how great that game was. We now get Commanders at Bears. Just what should be an offensive showcase. Over under is 37.5. I'm sure this is going to be an absolute barn burner. This game is at a pick'em. Who do you have in this game? Do you have any inclination as to who is going to win?
I would take the Commanders just because of how bad the Bears started last week. I don't have a whole lot of confidence in anything that they did, even though they kind of fought back a little bit. There were some costly Viking mistakes that essentially let them back in it, and it seemed like Zimmer was back. But from what I saw from the Bears, not too impressed. I still think this is a team who can draft inside the top 5. I think they are just about that bad. A lot of the money's coming in on the Bears, which I don't understand. Maybe it's because, they're the home team. I'll take them in a pick 'em. But I don't think there's a huge difference between these two squads. I mean, we've got 2 of the bottom 6 teams in the NFC. Obviously, neither are even sniffing the playoffs, and I'd be shocked if either back their way into it. But, I mean, short week, Thursday Night Football, I think it can go under very easily.
I agree. I'm going to be honest. I'm probably going to stay away from betting this game for my sanity, but I will sprinkle on a parlay. Plus 5,700. Washington defense anytime touchdown scorer. Chicago defense anytime touchdown scorer. You can't tell me that doesn't have a chance.
It's definitely got a chance. It's definitely got a chance. I mean, you know what Wentz is able to do, and I mean, Fields is just as likely to turn one over. So I don't hate that at all.
Look, if we're gonna watch a shitty game, we might as well have fun doing it. A couple of the other games that I want to talk about going into next week. Jags at Colts is a game that I find interesting. Colts are 1.5 point favorites at home. This is the first time that we've seen 2 teams who have already played this season play each other again, which I'm shocked that it happened this early in week 6, but here we are. The Colts lost 28-0 the last time these 2 teams played, and yet they're 1.5 point favorites. Over under is 42.5. I personally like the under. Is Colts minus 1.5 seems like a play here. Am I crazy?
No, I don't think you are. I mean, when we see lines that don't fully make sense, there's usually something to it. And I know the Jags haven't looked good over the last couple weeks, but there's a reason it's 1.5. I like the Colts as well. The Colts actually have hit the under in 5 straight games.
Wow.
So I think that 5 or 40, what's
42
that?
and a half.
42 and a half is extremely live. It just really depends what the Jags show us. I mean, last week was disgusting. They lost 13-6 versus the Texans at home.
Crazy ass stat. The Jags have been in the AFC Championship more recently than they have beaten the Houston Texans.
That is
That's why.
Especially when you say recently, because there has not been very many good Texans teams. I mean, 2 years ago was Watson, but
Crazy.
Wow.
It's really bad. Like Blake Bortles has retired since then. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And from a money standpoint, it looks like 56% of the money is on Jacksonville. So not like the public is really loving one side either way here, but
Right.
yeah, I prefer the Colts in this one. Bengals are 1.5 point favorites against the Saints. I love the Bengals in a bounce back spot here. I think the Saints
love that. I wouldn't mind alternating that spread to like 2.5.
Yeah, try to get the juice out a little bit.
None of the Saints receivers practiced today. And honestly, Cody, how long can Taysom Hill keep this up? Because every time, like you look at his stat lines, every time he's on the field, which isn't much, he's played less than 30% of snaps each of the last 2 weeks. You know what he's going to do. You just don't know what way he's going. They rarely let him throw. And like he came in like 2-3 times versus the Vikings, had a touchdown, had like a 15-yard run. I was like, you know exactly what he's going to do. Especially when all these guys are out. I mean, say even 2 of these receivers miss on Sunday. I think the Bengals, like you said, I think it's going to be a huge bounce.
I agree. Spot. And the Bengals defense has been very good. They have yet to allow a touchdown in the second half of any game this season. They've been solid. I don't think that the success that the Saints had against what seems to be porous Seattle defense is going to happen against Cincinnati. Andy Dalton revenge game though, so we got to take that into consideration.
Right.
But yeah, I'm going to take the Bengals minus 1.5 on this one. Heavy public favorite. So that does scare me a little bit, but I'll back my Bengals here. A spread that I was kind of surprised to see. The Packers are 7-point favorites on the Jets. The Jets quietly are 3-2. I don't think they've beaten 3 good teams, considering they beat I don't even know who Skylar Thompson led Miami Dolphins team this weekend. But granted, they whooped them.
Yeah.
Do we trust the Packers to bounce back after their New York Giants game?
I'm not sure I do, because I mean, even the week prior they should have lost to the Patriots.
Yeah, and Bailey Zappi. It's not like it was a healthy
a Bailey Zappi-led Patriots team. So it's not like they're showing much, and let alone that was at home. Like it's not like that was in New England in a spot where you played bad on the road. What I saw week 1, which I know we're far past that, but week 1 against the Vikings, they didn't show a whole lot at any point throughout the game. So it's like, I don't love this spread. I'll probably stay away. You also have to look at the travel time from London. I mean, it's used to be very typical when we had a 16-game schedule that you play in London, you get a bye week. And now, obviously, the coaches are given the option, and as early as these London games were, none of the teams had opted to take a bye week the week after. Vikings and Saints both won last week. Giants and Packers now come back over. I don't blame these coaches for not taking a bye week. I mean,
week 6 is so early. Yeah.
18, like what? you can't take your bye week, your 1 week off in October where everybody's still
Yeah, you're a
fresh.
third
I
of the
mean,
way through
just
the season.
deal with
I
your
mean, that just
deal with your jet lag. Pick back up on Wednesday and go about it as a normal week. But I think it's gonna affect one of these two teams. I just don't exactly know who. I If I had to make a pick, Cody, I would probably go with the Packers just because I'm not all that thrilled with the Jets, but at the same time, it's probably a
yeah,
stay
and
away.
the public split on this about 50-50, so I don't think there's, really anything to love there. Let's talk about your Vikings. 3.5-point favorites on the road against a Miami Dolphins team that has been a tale of two halves. There's the first half of their season so far, and
Yeah.
then the second half. Do we know who's going to be the quarterback for Miami? Is it going to be Teddy? Is it going to be Tua? Is it going to be Skylar Thompson?
I heard Skylar Thompson today, but I also heard earlier in the morning that Tua was going through concussion protocol and had a chance. I don't see that happening, so I hope I see Skylar Thompson.
Yeah.
To be completely honest, both receivers are beat up. They both practiced full today, but when I heard last week that Tyreek Hill had a walking boot on, I was like, there's no way he plays, right? I mean, we didn't know the severity of the injury. Obviously, if he practiced in full on today, Wednesday the 12th, he is going to be fine, and that's kind of how they're progressing. And then Teron Armstead as well got banged up, so they're playing the Dolphins in a really good week. I think that's in terms of health-wise, which I'll take anything I can get because looking at this game 3-4 weeks ago, it looked like an automatic loss heading into the bye, but now 3.5 point favorites. I think they have a shot, and apparently Delvin Cook's going to have like half the stadium are going to be his family and friends, so that could also play in their advantage.
Say what you want about Vikings fans, they do travel very well. The Sea of Purple, moves around pretty good. I like the Vikings minus 3.5 here. Again, the public likes them too, so that does kind of scare me a little bit. But I would want to jump on this line. This is a play that I'm going to be betting tonight because I could absolutely see this line moving to -4 as we get closer to Sunday. So I will be hopping on it sooner rather than later. Let's talk about Ravens and Giants. Ravens are 5.5-point favorites. I am kind of surprised by this line, to be honest. I think I like New York plus 5.5.
I'm very torn. I think it's an extremely sharp line, which, like we said in the beginning,
Yep.
betting's hard. Another team, like I said, coming back from London, but at the same time, I mean, I am very intrigued to see what Wink Martindale does against his former team and Lamar Jackson. I would assume he's been scheming up a game plan since he signed with the Giants and looked ahead at this game. I mean, obviously, when you play your old team, you're going to have a little bit of fire. I think he knows this team obviously better than anybody, and I don't know. That's a lot of points for a home team who's looked the way that they have.
Yeah, I think being at home could be the difference here. That's a lot of points for them home dogs. Speaking of a home dog, I like the Falcons plus 5.5 against San Francisco. The Falcons are 5-0 against the spread this season. They've been very good at covering. I think this is a team that is good enough to keep every game close, but not great enough to win them. I like the Falcons. 5.5 at home. A lot of points. Is that too many points? Am I stupid? What are your thoughts here?
I mean, like you said, they've stayed in every single game. They're 5-0 against the spread, so clearly, and they haven't played that bad of teams.
No.
I mean, at Tampa last week, they were one flag away from possibly beating the Buccaneers.
That call.
They probably should have went to LA and won. I mean, that game was getting out of hand, and then they fought back, and for a second it was like they're going to beat the Rams. And that's when I started losing all hope for the Rams and what they were. I mean, went to Seattle and won, which looking back at it
Seems
now,
like pretty.
it's not that bad of a win. Not that bad of a win. So, I don't know. I don't know about San Fran yet. Obviously, they're tough. Jimmy G's extremely consistent. You know what you're going to get week in and week out. But I think they'll be able to stay in this game at home at the very least.
Yep. Love that. I'm going to skip Panthers Rams because, quite frankly, I do not care. I hate that game. That game will make me puke. Cardinals Seahawks. Seahawks money line. Geno time, baby. They wrote me off. I ain't right back. Seahawks plus 122 on the money line. We're taking it. Tyler Lockett, go and take the ball deep, take the top off the defense. We've seen what they've done. DK Metcalf chase down game. I love the Seahawks. Give me Seattle.
Money line. You might as well. If you got plus 2.5 at home, you might as well take them outright to win. Cardinals, I don't really know what's going on there. I'm ready for DeAndre Hopkins to return to this team finally. Running back situation for Arizona, not great. So they're probably going to have to throw more than they want to, or more than they would like, at least in Seattle. So, yeah, if you're betting this game, you might as well go money line. No point taking the 2.5.
I agree. I hate betting the plus 2.5, but it would have gotten the Bengals to cover. So, damn it. Breaks my heart. What could be the game of the week? And I want to talk about this from a betting perspective, obviously, but just in football as a whole, we get Bills at Chiefs. What a lot of people are saying is going to be an AFC Championship game preview. The playoff game between these two teams was nothing short of electric last season. What are your thoughts on pick a winner, I guess, but do you think this could be a potential AFC Championship matchup?
100% I do. I mean, obviously the Chiefs division isn't exactly what we thought it would be. They're slowly running away with it, and not exactly running away with it, but I think they're in better control than I would have thought they would be through 5 weeks, just because how strong I thought it would be top to bottom. Not exactly the case. This is tough. From what I saw Monday night with the Chiefs defense, I don't love it. I think the Bills are going to expose them in that aspect. It just comes down to, can the Bills stop Mahomes? And that's what we saw in the playoffs last year. It's back and forth, back and forth. I think it's going to be that way. Chiefs on a short week. Always have to keep that in mind. So with that being said, I'm going Bills 2.5, and I think you can tease it up a little bit if you want to.
Yeah, something that's been underrated about the Bills season so far is their pass defense has been incredible. Quarterbacks are averaging less than 180 yards a game against them. Obviously, that's not going to be the case against Mahomes, but if they can at least contain him a little bit, I think the Bills really have a shot to win this game. In Kansas City, should be an electric game. It's a great 4:00 matchup. But we have some good Sunday Night Football too. Cowboys at Eagles. Eagles are 6-point favorites. This is a game where if you would have told me 2-3 weeks ago that the Eagles were 6-point favorites, I would have laughed at you, told you it should have been 10, 12, much higher spread. With Cooper Rush and how this offense has looked in Dallas, I think they've looked pretty solid. I would still probably take the Eagles -6. The Eagles are 4-1 or 3-2 against the spread. Cowboys are 4-1 against the spread through 5 games. Do we think they have a shot?
I want to talk myself into believing they have a shot because I want to see the Eagles slowly lose some of these games that they shouldn't for the Vikings case. So I'm going to be a little bit selfish in that aspect, but no, I wouldn't put my money on it. I think the Eagles should win this game pretty easily at home, primetime. That place gets rocking pretty good. I mean, I don't think I could bet Cooper Rush at that. I mean, the luck's going to run out at some point, and even if it's not Rush, I think the Eagles are just too good right now not to cover that 6.
I agree, and it seems like we are going against America on this one. 67% of the bets are on the Cowboys. If I can fade the Cowboys, I would love to fade the Cowboys. Fuck America's team. I hate them. I hate the Cowboys for no reason. I don't have a reason to. I'm a Bengals fan. I have zero reason to hate the Cowboys. I hate the Cowboys. they're such an easy team to hate. It's like hating Notre Dame. And I'm a Notre Dame fan, but I can recognize that it's easy to hate Notre Dame. Monday Night Football.
Everywhere you look, people are talking about the Cowboys, and I think it just makes them such an easy target to hate.
I agree. I'm glad we could get on the same page here, Dom. Monday Night Football game, last game on the slate. LA is playing at home. Chargers against the Broncos. Hopefully, for the love of God, we are close to being done with Broncos primetime games because Russ is not cooking. It's been awful. I'm shocked that the Chargers are only 4.5-point favorites. You seem to have a very great understanding of who's practiced this week. Is Keenan Allen looking to play in this game? He played week 1, hasn't played since.
Oh, let's see. I actually did not see Keenan today, but I can probably pull it up here. I mean, I thought he was going to be back like a week or two ago. So it's like, I don't know how long he can be held out, but I would hope so.
My fantasy team hopes so. I have a lot of shares of Keenan Allen. 4.5 for the Chargers seems kind of low. The public agrees. They are all over the Chargers. They're getting 70% of the bets. I don't hate the Broncos to cover this spread. 4.5 for a Russell Wilson led team seems like quite a bit, but the Broncos are 1-4 against the spread. So I really don't know how I feel about this game. I really don't. There are a lot of games I have a lot of conviction about, and this is not one of them.
Yeah, back to the Keenan Allen thing. Limited individual drills today.
I don't love that.
So not promising.
No, not at all. I don't love that. Maybe the under is the play here. 45.5. The under is 4-1 in Broncos games. So maybe that's the move here. Just not super confident in the Chargers defense with Joey Bosa being out. So we'll see.
I think this is kind of a trap line because the Broncos have been made a publicly easy target, an easy team to hate. I'm showing 87% of the money on the Chargers.
Damn, so you're showing even more than I am.
What are you
I'm showing 74%. So that's which I'm just looking at FanDuel's, but that's a lot. Let me fade the public on this one. I
agree. When you see lines that don't make a whole lot of sense, and I did this last year for like 6 weeks straight, I would pick the most lopsided line, in my opinion, and take the other side. And I think it hit all but once. Like,
we love that.
We
love a winning bet household. Let's go.
That's what Vegas does. They'll play mind games and they'll take everybody's money on the Chargers. Do I think from what I've seen thus far that the Broncos have any chance of covering? No, but that's when they do.
Yep. And
that's betting for you.
And that's gambling, baby. Dom, I appreciate you coming on, man. All of Dom's stuff is going to be linked in the description of the podcast, in the description on YouTube. Make sure to go follow his stuff. He does makes awesome content for PointsBet, especially his golf stuff. During golf season, Dom, you just absolutely crush it. I am more of a golf spectator than a golf bettor, so I like to tell your plays because you made me a lot of money this year, and I appreciate that. If you guys enjoy this content, please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. It means a lot. That's the best way to support, and we will see you in the next one.